How's it going, guys, and welcome back to BL3's Forgotten, the series where I take a look at underused and not often talked about pieces of gear to determine whether or not they deserve to be remembered within the modern meta of the game or should be left behind and forgotten. And today we're taking a look at the Porta Pooper 5000 and the Hot Drop. Yup, it's the shit gun episode. If you'd like to get the Porta Pooper for yourself, you're gonna want to fast travel over to Lectra City and make your way over to this porta potty where you can pick up the Porta Prison side quest. After helping out Trashmouth in his attempt to get out of the shitter and following him back to the Meridian Metroplex, you will be rewarded with the Porta Pooper. The Porta Pooper is a unique blue-rarity COV, having completely launched parts, only ever rolling in radiation, and being unable to be anointed. The Porta Pooper lobs out radioactive shit that will explode on impact and will spawn a poop pool on the ground that deals radiation damage for the 3 seconds that it's active. If you'd like to get the Hot Drop for yourself, you'll want to fast travel over to Devil's Razor on Pandora, specifically taking the Roland's Rest fast travel station, as this is where we'll be resetting from. Make your way around the cliffside and towards the bandit camp, where the bounty target Hot Carl can spawn, who when killed can drop you the Hot Drop. The Hot Drop is a unique blue-rarity COV launcher, having completely locked parts and only coming as incendiary. The Hot Drop also cannot be anointed. The Hot Drop fires out hot poop that deals splash damage on impact, and will spawn a lava pool on the ground that will deal fire damage for the 3 seconds that it's active. As well, on impact, the Hot Drop will summon 2 more projectiles, which will follow the trajectory, bouncing away from wherever they impacted. Let's actually get on into things here though, and starting out with the Porta Pooper. The Porta Pooper was unexpected. I think that's the best way to put it. The damage of the puddle wasn't good, but it was definitely still dealing more damage than I had expected it to. Though not usually for very long, considering most of the time enemies would just kind of walk out of it. For a launcher, it was extremely lacking in the area coverage department, especially considering how cumbersome lobbing a radioactive chunk of shit at someone is. That arc, combined with most of the damage being in a stationary puddle that enemies just kind of walk out of, combined with the unpleasant sound of firing this weapon, and how abysmal the damage that it does is, and a slow-ass fire rate, all makes for an overall very stinky experience. Certainly far from wiping out any enemies. Teehee! Slapping an anointment on it, I mean, it was still shit. But like, for real, it was still ass. Okay, but actually, it still stinks. Alright, legit, it's really bad. Even if the Porta Pooper did good damage, I think it would still be a miserable experience to actually use the thing. But putting an anointment on it still has the Porta Pooper far from dealing good damage. Any other rocket launcher ever is going to make better use out of your launcher ammo, with exception for maybe like the Agonizer. Even at lower tiers of content, the Porta Pooper was leaving a hell of a lot to be desired. Much like that time I left an upper decker in the bathroom on the first floor of a Sears. You know, I'm sure whoever used that toilet next was definitely surprised, but not in a good way. More so in the way that makes you question why the fuck you decided to take a shit in a Sears. The final thing I really want to note with the Porta Pooper is just that I find it interesting that the Porta Pooper, the poop gun, abbreviates to pee-pee. I just think that's kind of neat. Moving on to the Hot Drop though. Now you might not believe me, but this shit gun, this one's actually kind of decent. Dare I say, viable? It took me a second to realize how to best use this gun, as I didn't initially realize that the trajectory of the mini poops was dependent on the angle of impact of the alpha poop. So the best way to use the Hot Drop is to fire it at the feet of your enemies. You gotta make them step in it. But this allows the smaller globs to fly straight up and back down, allowing for better control over where you lay your logs. The damage output here was much better despite having a very similar actual base damage. But splitting into those 2 additional projectiles means that you effectively get 3 times your damage if you're able to land all of them, which isn't too difficult given their splash radius and the way that you can control the trajectory. Flinging a big pile of 3 turds at your target is quite effective, though the damage output still isn't anything amazing. It is better than the Pooper for sure, enough to be considered somewhat viable, but still not good. Anointing it, I think, is a similar story. It does get a lot better and way more viable, but I think I might still struggle to call it genuinely good. I can't make nearly as many shit jokes about its performance as I could with the peepee, which is definitely a shame, but at least one of the poop guns is worth keeping around floating in your bank. Fun quirk that I noticed with the hot drop as well is that in low gravity, the mini hot drops fly up into the air, but they don't impact the ground before disappearing. They kind of just evaporate into the ether. Overall though, this video was an inevitability. I'm deeply ashamed that it has come to this and that we're at this point in the series, but as long as I've put it off for, we had to come around and smell the shit at some point. The poop guns are not great. The Porta Pooper is absolute abysmal dog shit, being completely unusable and extremely unfun to use, having so many things about it that just combine to make an unpleasant gameplay experience, while the hot drop is actually genuinely kind of a fun weapon. It too isn't anything amazing, but it's a hell of a lot better than the Porta Pooper, and I do find it a lot more enjoyable to use, to the point where I did actually have a lot of fun using it, where the Porta Pooper, let's just say it's the least amount of fun I've had while playing with shit. Jesus fucking Christ, do I leave that in? Is that something I want on my YouTube channel? That's gonna about do it for this one though. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I'll be live right after this video goes up right here on YouTube and also over on my Twitch channel, where there'll be a link to down in the description below, and just under that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.